Hey, Mike, so glad you're here, man. Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to come chat with us.
Nate, it's a pleasure. I've followed you for a while. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share a few minutes with you and your audience. I really appreciate it.
So, for anyone who doesn't know you or is not familiar with your book, your speaking career, your coaching career, can you just give us a little bit of background on how you came to be a widely sought after motivational speaker, published author, etc.?
Yeah, I was an athlete my whole life. I had an opportunity. The Mets offered me a minor league contract in 1978. I had been the MVP and won two batting titles with the Texas Louisiana Professional Baseball League down in East Texas, where I was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and it just kind of kicked off my career as far as baseball, and then getting into coaching and mentoring, in this case, a lot of young men, trying to make them better than what they thought they were. And it just kind of led me into the financial planning. I've been an Aflac rep for 46 years. I've been in the insurance industry, and it gave me the freedom to work with uh, kids, and then to be able to take it another level to work with individuals and coaches, and to be a coach within my insurance industry. And then in 2013, I found I had a HPV basal tumor the size of your fist at the base of my throat, and I had to go through all the chemo and radiation. And my kids will tell you that my life is clearly defined of AC and BC, after cancer and before cancer. And when I wrote my book, I chose live, is what gave me the motivation to be a speaker, to try to do more with my life. And something that we had talked about before we came on the air is that right before my father died, he said, "Son, make a difference," and that's what I'm trying to do for the remainder of my life.
That's powerful. Can you? I think the ACBC is very, very interesting. And I was telling you before, and that like we just lost my wife's dad just passed from cancer. It was just like it's been terrible for the whole family and everything else. But it's really been a cause for a lot of reflection, at least personally, in terms of like what would you do if you were given that second chance? Can you just kind of go through and just talk me through? Because like you mentioned, finding that tumor, and then I heard that like you're in Tennessee, your hair's falling out, you're on the balcony of your condo, and then you're going through chemo. Like, what was like the next step in that realization of choose live?
Well, it was actually, I was, like you said, I mean, if anybody that's gone through chemo radiation, you have your good days and then your not so good days. And I was in Tennessee, and I was a director of sales and recruiting for Aflac in the South, and couldn't work, and just trying to get my strength back and going through all my treatments. And I was out on the balcony that one beautiful summer day, and the wind was blowing, and I was looking at the Chattanooga River, and I felt that clump on my arm. I looked down, and there was this big clump of hair. And so I just went and did the all get the hair. And I mean, I didn't have a hair on my head, and got my hair back now. That's all I care about. I didn't care about the tumor anymore. I just
Yeah,
wanted
you look good. It's a
my
nice head of
hair back.
hair.
Thanks. And but I went inside, and I sat down, and I turned on the TV, and I don't know, it was TNT or something, but the movie Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie or not, but it gave Tim Robbins his big boost as far as an actor. But it was about a man that was falsely accused of killing his wife, and he was sent to Shawshank prison. And the first 6 or 8 weeks that he was there, he was beaten, he was raped, he was. I mean, it was just a horrible, horrible experience. And they had a scene in the yard with the great Morgan Freeman, who played this character Red, that had been at Shawshank for 40 years. And Tim Robbins said, "How could you be here for 40 years? This place is a living hell, and I mean, it's horrible." And Morgan Freeman said, "Well, life is about choices. You either get busy living or you get busy dying." And Nate, I've got to tell you, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I turned off the TV. I went over to my desk, and that's when I started writing. I chose live.
What other like thoughts or actions started like did you start taking as a result of that choice that you made? Like
Well, I
I
think the biggest thing for me is that okay, I've got a second shot here, and I've got to, frankly, I've got to tone it down. I don't worry about road rage. I mean, somebody cuts in front of me now, I just go, wow, that guy's in a hurry. I don't. I go to the grocery store and I'm going to get in line behind that lady that's got 500 packages, and at the very last minute, she decides to pull out her checkbook and write a check. I just laugh about that stuff now. And before, there might have been a confrontation. Before, I was just a very different person when it came to let's get it going, let's get the job done, let's go, go, go. I think it's also helped me in my business career because I don't pounce. I was always accused of being salesy, of pouncing, and now I find myself being asking more questions than talking. I find myself being much more patient than I was before, and that's one of the things that my kids have brought up to me. That these are the changes that you understand and you realize that life again is about choices, and you can either make it really nice for yourself and other people, or you can make it rough for yourself or other people. And I'm trying very hard to make it nice for myself and other people.
I love the idea of slowing down because I feel like, for someone who may have not been there, the idea of like speeding up and fitting more in could be kind of appealing, given a second chance at life. But slowing down, I feel like, brings you back to the present. It makes you very purposeful with your actions. It improves the quality of time that you're spending with the loved ones as well. And I think that like that's one thing that I'm trying to take away from my experience is like a lot of these great men in my life. I feel like they didn't have that like that super like speedy, gotta go mentality. They were happy to take things as they came, do it right, rather than rushing through something and maybe not doing it like completely up to standards.
It's also an example of my father. My father was a high school football, baseball coach, started the first private school in Beaumont, Texas with my mother. And he was also a layman disciple of Christ minister. Whenever a church lost their pastor, my dad would go fill in. My dad never raised his voice. My dad was a tremendous athlete, a champion handball player for years and years, and he never cursed. He never raised his voice. But when he said something, you listened. And I've tried to be more that way than I was my mom. My mom was in your face, very confrontational, a tremendous businesswoman, a tremendous teacher. But I mean, you talk about two opposites, the opposites attract. But my dad got his point across in a very understanding, in a very mild way that I really didn't understand, in all fairness, until I went through the cancer.
How has that impacted the coaching that you've done either? Because I know you coach baseball and now you do a lot more like mentorship of young men and you do some like almost like business coaching as well. How's that impacted your philosophy?
Well, I think more that it's about coach them up. It's not about bringing out that you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I find myself more of, first of all, trying to be an example. I mean, I'm 71 years old. I moved to Colorado Springs 4.5 years ago, not knowing a soul. My wife had early onset of MS, and the heat in Austin, Texas, was just eating her up. And Aflac gave me a shot here in the Springs. And right now, I'm number two in the whole market with business and new accounts and stuff. And it's because I have a plan. I'm working a plan. I'm seeing people. I'm very involved in the chamber. all these other kind of factors. And I'm trying to lead more by example, but I'm also, when I'm working with new agents, when I'm working, even coaching with baseball and doing hitting instruction and stuff like this, of trying to bring out more of the positive and try to stay away from the negative. And it's the same thing with people. I assure you, I know that there are people in this town that think I have some kind of bladder disorder, because if I get around anybody that is negative, is talking about how lousy business is, how lousy the economy is, everything else, I say, I got to go to the bathroom. I don't want to be around it. Life's too short. And I just leave that conversation. But I think the answer to your question is that I am doing a much better job of coaching up than I am about criticizing or bringing out the negative side.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to start being like, sorry, I got to go to the bathroom. I just went, but I'm going to go again right now.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here.
Yep.
And that probably changes your perspective on like who you want to spend time with too. Having that kind of look death in the face, and realizing the people that, love you and want to be around you are like the people that you want to be around as well, versus the people that like might have been a good business connection or something like that, but you don't actually like them. Probably makes that brings that to like the forefront a bit more.
There's no reason to put yourself in a position where there's going to be a disagreement, whether it's politics, religion, whatever it might be. I feel like the best maneuver for me is just not be around it. And so I don't hang out with some people that, I mean, I've had some mentors say, this is somebody that you need to be around. They can help you in your business, everything. I don't like the guy. And so I'm not going to do it. When I was in college, I sold clothes at the Cody's clothing store on every Saturday. And I had to wait on anybody that came in the door. And there were some people, there were some uh, guys in different fraternities that I didn't like. But when they walked in that store, I had to wait on them. I had to take care of them. Well, I don't have to do that anymore. I can pick and choose who I want to have as a client, who I want to approach, what I want to do, and I just like that freedom that I didn't have at an earlier age.
Well, so you're coaching up a lot of different agents kind of who are coming up through Aflac. I feel like that's a very entrepreneurial business. A lot of entrepreneurs listen to this podcast. I'm a big time entrepreneur. Well, not a big time. I'm an entrepreneur and I like that lifestyle a lot. But how would you coach someone who's maybe new to the business side, new to entrepreneurship? And how does that look different from how you would have done it maybe 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, that's such a great question, because now it's about, look, I've been there, I've done that. My job is to knock as many of the rocks out of the road that are possible, because I've already tripped over them. And so if you will be smart enough to be dumb enough to do what I ask you to do, you're going to be successful. I did that. I had a 2-year stint with the Padres where I was the lead instructor at the San Diego School of Baseball, and I ran Tony Gwynn. Well, one year I worked at Tony Gwynn's camp. The next year I ran Tony Gwynn's camp, and just to be around an athlete like Tony Gwynn was so inspiring for me. And I put myself in the position now of letting them know, even when I was doing the hitting instruction, is that, look, if you continue to drop your hands, if you continue to have a hitch, you're never going to catch up to the fastball. You've got to trust me that my success. I mean, back then, I got a bonus if a kid made the show. Well, it's no different with like, for an example, with Aflac, is that I want to see these young agents, and they don't have to be young in age, but a new agent where they make fast start, where they make their super fast start, where they get their bonuses, and they realize that this occupation that I'm in is about helping people when they need it the most. And if I can get that point across to them, that the money will come, that the trips will come, the bonuses will come, but you have to be consistent. You have to ask for the business. And the thing that I really try to represent is that I'm the example, because I'm not going to, I remember I had professors in college, and I have a marketing degree from Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, and I had professors that could get up there on that blackboard and they could tell you what to do, but I promise you, they couldn't sell a freezing Eskimo a blanket. And so I feel like that if you're out there doing it, okay, then you set that example that why don't you reach my numbers? Okay, because what I am telling you is what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I feel like that's where my strength comes from with these younger agents. Because normally once a month, I will go in and I will just do a Q&A for about 2 hours with the new recruits. I will go out with them. I will work with them. 12 years ago, I got the big head and went to Georgia, where I was the director uh, of recruiting and uh, and training for the state of Georgia for Aflac, and it was a huge responsibility. And the biggest problem you have is that you can tell people how to. What's the old saying that if you fish and give somebody a fish, then they can eat for that day. But if you show them how to fish, they can feed themselves. So many of the agents wanted to be fed. They did not want to do that themselves. And my mentor, Ron Sanders, who actually wrote the foreword to my book, I Chose Live, we grew up together in Beaumont. He's in the Hall of Fame at Aflac. That's how strong Ron Sanders is. But Ron told me years ago, you fire the failures fast.
Mm.
Because if they're not going to do what you ask them to do, if they want you to feed them and not feed them, if you care more than they care, you're in trouble. And so
Mm.
you need to move on and find somebody that really does respect you and your advice.
Three things I got from that was number one, be smart enough to be dumb enough to just follow the plan. Number two
Yes.
is show, don't tell. And number three is fire the failures fast. So I'm curious kind of about when it comes to those people who, you feel like you want it more than they do, or they feel like they have a lot of potential, but they're really not living into it. Is it a, like a, let me coach you up type of situation in your eyes? Or is it like, it's not the right time. You're not the right fit. Let's just move on from each other.
You have to weigh that because I have said, look, I am going to. I remember when I was in San Diego, I had my own agency, and in the morning I sold insurance. From 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I did hitting lessons at the San Diego School of Baseball, and I remember a young agent. I was leaving to go to do my lessons. It was a Friday afternoon. He had just had a baby, and he's sitting at the desk. He had no business. He was shuffling papers, and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Come on." And I grabbed him, and we went to a strip center and went in. And at the time, you could sell these little individual healthcare plans for, like $15, $20 a month. And we sold about 6 or 8 of them. And he made somewhere around $150, $200 in an hour's time. And I said, this is what you need to do to fill the gap. And I said, because right now, I care more about your baby having formula and diapers than you do. And that's not going to work. Either you're going to do this or you need to pick up another phrase. And that phrase is, do you want fries with that order? Okay. And so, the
Savage,
direct
Mike.
the direct approach sometimes is like, look, we're either going to make this happen or you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to figure this out yourself. But I will say that, especially on the coaching standpoint, when you coach the really, really great ones, they want to be greater. Drew Brees is a perfect example of that. Drew Brees, the quarterback, ex-quarterback for the Saints, will be in the Hall of Fame here shortly. We would go into the cage, and he was a left-handed hitter. He was my third baseman, and he had the most unbelievable swing. If the football deal didn't work out for him at Purdue, baseball would have. Okay, he was that great of an athlete. But a perfect example is that we would go in and I would throw to him for a 30-minute session, and he would just kill the ball, boom, 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 boom. And I'd say, boy, Drew, don't change a thing. Your swing is perfect. And every time he would say, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And I'd say, Drew, it's perfect. No, let's do it again. And I found out with the kids that I was able to mentor that went to pro baseball that I've got 7 young men that made it to the show. And every one of those wanted to be better. And I think back of Derek Jeter saying every year the Yankees would always bring in some hot shot shortstop that was bigger, stronger, had a better arm, but he said they never outworked me. And when you think about the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnsons and the Michael Jordans and just some of the greats, you did not outwork the great ones. And I think that's where it comes down to how badly do you want this? Do you got to earn it? But if you can trust a mentor or you can do something for yourself to make you better, then those are the ones you love to coach. Those are the ones that you love to work with because they want to be better.
Makes the job a lot of fun, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I heard a quote that I really liked. It said, "Winners do as much as possible and still wonder if they're not doing enough. Losers do as little as they can and still think that they should be winning."
Yeah, losers make excuses, and a lot of times somebody will say, "Well, I didn't. It was too hot to go out today." That's an excuse. I remember. I remember. I was teaching when I was training in Georgia, a group of young agents, and I had a couple of them come up and they said we're New Year's, we're going to have a resolution, and we need to lose some weight, and we're going to lose some weight. And I said, no, you're not. I said, you don't have a plan. If you came up and told me, look, every day in late afternoon, I'm gonna walk around the block. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go to the track and I'm gonna run the straightaways and walk the curves. Then I would say, you know what, you got a shot because you have a plan. But just to say, I need to lose some weight, I'm going to lose some weight. No, you're not, because you don't have a plan. You don't have a goal. You're not going to look in the mirror. When I give my speeches, I tell people, I want you to look in the mirror and say, today is the first day of the rest of my life. I'm going to seize this day. I'm going to seize this opportunity, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to make a difference. I tell people in my industry that I want you to get up every morning and run for mayor. I want you to go out there and shake hands and shake hands and kiss babies, because that's the way you're going to be seen. You're going to get some credibility and you're going to earn respect.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I like that, that discrepancy, because I feel like I get the same thing. I do the fitness and nutrition coaching a lot. And so when I hear someone who's in November is like, well, come New Year's, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to got some New Year's resolutions, whatever else, but they are not willing to do any of the work in the preceding 6 weeks because they're busy or whatever else is going on. I'm like, you're probably not going to get results. If you're not willing to do something right now, if you are waiting for some unforeseen time in the future when you are going to be less busy or things finally cool off for a minute, that's just the wrong mentality when it comes to getting results, because winners get results and they work no matter what, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 71 years old and I play in 2 baseball leagues here in the Springs in men's senior baseball every Thursday up in Castle Rock, and that's a 58 and over league. But in the league on Sundays, it's 45 and over. And I'm still, but every Wednesday and every Saturday, I'm at DBAT taking cuts. I am on the mound working on my pitching, but I'm in the cage swinging, mainly because, well, one thing, I don't want to embarrass myself, but number two is that I want to. I still want to be as good as I can be and still be one of the leaders again through example instead of just talking about it.
So I want to talk a little bit about cancer and a little bit of your experience with that, some of your rules for avoiding cancer. But before I do, I just kind of like personally, obviously you got the greats who are going to work no matter what. And I feel like when someone comes in for like fitness and nutrition coaching and they're an athlete, they're above average, they're hard workers, whatever else, my job is to just make those little tiny tweaks to help them become exceptional and stay injury free. What about those other people that are not necessarily in like the loser make excuses category, but they're also not that have the mentality of the greats, kind of those people right in the middle? How are you using those people when you're like when you were coaching to 3 Texas State championships? What about the players who weren't necessarily like the all stars or the superstars? What do you need from them in order to create success that lasts?
One of the things that I would ask them, why are you out here? This is going to be hot. I mean, we're in Austin, Texas. It's 100 degrees. It's summer. Why are you out here? What do you want to do? And they would say, I've got to get better. I got cut from the high school team. I want to participate. I want to be part of a team. And I would tell them, first and foremost, do what I ask you to do, and you're going to be better. Number two, if you're not having fun, then you've got to do something else, because no matter what you're doing, this is still a kid's game. And the greatest pleasure that I had, Nate, and I mean this sincerely, is that when I was coaching, my son was a tremendous athlete. He coached, I mean, he pitched at Austin Westlake, the home of Drew Brees and Nick Foles and Sam Ellinger. He was the 2000 Central Texas Athlete of the Year baseball for Westlake, pitched at Lamar University, had a great career. And, it was one of those things that I had a nucleus team in the summer. And every year, there always were 5 or 6 kids that tried out that were never chosen for a team. And the director of Cabo baseball at that time said, "Look, I've got 5 or 6 kids that didn't get picked up. They paid their money. They're great kids. They got great parents. Will you take them?" And every year I would take these kids that nobody else wanted. And when you saw them first, you realize why no one picked them. I mean, they just weren't very good. But their mentality, I told them, get better, listen to what we're saying, look at some of the players you're playing with that are going to play college ball, that are going to play in professional baseball. Learn from them. And the greatest compliment I would get is when one of those kids would call me and say, "Coach, I made the high school team." I mean, that meant so much to me that they got better. A lot of the high school coaches, I was the head coach at St. Michael's Catholic Academy for 5 years in Austin. A lot of the coaches knew me. They knew my reputation. They knew I came from pro baseball, and and they knew that I coached that kid. And they said, "We've seen such improvement from this young man." And that might have been all they did was just play high school baseball, but they made the team. They lettered. It looked good on their resume, and that meant the world to me.
Love that. So transition a little bit to talking about your journey and exploration of like treatment from cancer. You have like a giveaway, your top 10 tips to prevent cancer. If you go to mikecoyspeaks.com/gift, you can grab that there. But can you talk a little bit about some of the behaviors, the lifestyle pieces that we need to stay focused on to really live out a very healthful existence and stay cancer free?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to put my glasses on here because I have to blow it up. The biggest thing I think are your health choices. All right. Number one is that smoking, dipping, chewing has been linked to every kind of cancer you can think of. I was brokenhearted when I found out that Tony Gwynn died of that esophageal cancer at such a young age. But you never saw Tony without that dip in his mouth. And he was so, I guess, good at it. He didn't even spit, he just swallowed. It was nasty. But he always had that chew or that dip in his mouth. And I used to tell him, "Tony, that's going to kill you." He goes, "I'm addicted. It's something that I do." I said, "That's what sunflower seeds are for," but smoking, eating healthy. I mean, the thing about it is, try to eat more fish, be in moderation. I think more than anything else. Lizzie and I will go to a restaurant, and I have purposely set myself up where I will only eat half of whatever I order and take the other half home for the next day. Again, trying to limit the excess calories or whatever. Try to limit the fried foods. Using olive oil over butter, for an example, if you cook. Uh, Trying to maintain a healthy weight. I also think the physical activity is key. I work out 6 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm on the elliptical for anywhere from 1.5 miles to 2 miles, and I lift. On Tuesday, Thursday is when I will row and swim. And but if I pitch on Sunday, then I will row and swim on Monday. I won't lift. I'll change it up a little bit. Uh, but on Saturdays, I will row and swim because I'm going to pitch on Sunday. And again, it's just a lifestyle of mine. My dad was such a tremendous athlete. He worked out every day. He was a champion handball player. He allowed me to be a champion handball player. And it's something that, as far as physical activity, and again, it can just be go for a walk, ride a bike, swim. I know that pickleball is the new trend. Grab a partner and just do it. One of the big factors that I have had to maintain because I'm out in the sun so much is skin cancer. It's one of the most common kinds of cancer, but it's also one of the most preventable if you avoid the midday sun, stay in the shade, cover your skin, and don't scrimp on the sunscreen. Uh, there's viral infections. I had the HPV viral cancer that if we can get boys and girls, if we can get them that shot at age 12, we can completely eradicate HPV. If you're not sure about it, I go into a lot of detail in the book I chose Live about that. Practice safe sex. Don't share needles. But I think more importantly is that, and you and I talked about it before we went on the air. When I wrote the book, excuse me, I chose Live. I found out that stress is a silent killer. But more importantly, is that men don't go to the doctor. Men don't get checked. And the two biggest cancers for men is colon cancer and prostate cancer. And there's no easy cancer, but they're the two simplest if you catch them early enough. But we don't go to the doctor until we are late, stage 3, stage 4, and then we're dead in 6 months. And so part of I guess, just my passion is I try to say, men, go get checked. I've got my 10-year colonoscopy coming up July 1st. That's not a lot of fun, but the bottom line is that it's got to be done. I mean, you put yourself in a position that I want to know. I want to make sure that if I have any precancerous polyps or whatever, they're taken care of. And so what I try to preach more than anything else is you gotta laugh instead of get mad, and you've got to go get checked. And I think if we can stay within these 10 rules, we can help prevent cancer. Because right now, and I think you know this, Nate, but cancer is still the most expensive disease out there. And we spend, I mean, trillions, I think, on just trying for prevention and care and everything else. Now, Alzheimer's is catching up, but right now we've got to prevent cancer and make something positive happen. And that's why when I sell my books, 100% of the net proceeds goes to the Aflac Children's Cancer Center. Right now, the research, they have gone from 35% to 85% survival rate
Wow.
on kids, especially with childhood leukemia, but it's not 100%. And that's where I want the research to go and the prevention to happen.
Yeah, that's powerful. So making sure you have a healthy lifestyle, you're moving a lot. I like your tip about laugh more, stress less, because stress is the silent killer. And I think that is doing more for the negative side of things than people even have any understanding of, both from adding belly fat and visceral fat to their bodies, to like not letting their brains recover, to not sleeping enough. And I think that adds up over time, especially with a high paced lifestyle. And like going back to what you were talking about earlier, that slowing down, taking a breath, letting things be what they are when you go to the grocery store and it's not going your way. I think that if more people can embody those characteristics, we're going to see a more healthy existence. So that's good stuff, Mike. So if you want to see his other,
Before I moved to Georgia, Ron Sanders called me, said, I need for you to come over and take over the training and the recruiting for the state of Georgia. I had just gone through a very devastating divorce. I packed up by myself, moved to Georgia, only knew one person, and that was Ron Sanders. The stress was unbelievable. And then I found out that stress helps just completely destroy your immune system. And so that's where the doctors are saying the cancer might have been there for a while, but all of a sudden my immune system dropped mainly through stress, and boom, it grabbed me.
wow. So just take the lesson here. Don't learn it yourself. Be
Yes,
smart enough to be dumb enough to take that lesson.
correct.
Mike, thank you so much for your time today and just coming in and sharing your wisdom on this stuff. This has been really, really amazing. Can you, any last tips or last words you have for our audience?
I just think of some of the quotes that I'm able to pick up along the way, but one of my favorites is from Mother Teresa. She said, God only gives you what he knows you can handle. It's just sometimes I wish he didn't trust me so much. And I think that so much of what we try to do on our own is we don't get help. We don't get, when I was going through the cancer, I remember I had a handful of people ask me, did you ever think about giving up? You ever think about just checking it in? And I said, no. I said, I have a 6-month-old grandson that doesn't know me, and I have not walked my daughter down the aisle yet. Now I have 3 grandsons that probably wish they didn't know me. And I did walk my daughter down the aisle, and she's blessed me with this 5-year-old granddaughter. But I had a purpose. I had a reason to continue to fight. I had a reason. I think about that great American philosopher, Rocky Balboa. Stallone says it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up. And I think so many times people don't go and get the help that they need. They men especially think it's a weakness if you go to the doctor, if you go to a psychiatrist or a therapist, and it's not. And the bottom line is that in my case, I had a purpose to keep going on. And I tell people whenever I give my talk, is at the very end of the message, I say, I hope and pray that you take the same path that I took, and that is that I chose live. And that's what I try to bring to the audience.
Powerful. So if you want to hear more from Mike, or if you know someone who's going through their own personal struggles, you can go to I chose live, CHOSE, choselive.com. Check out the book there. Or if you want to get a little bit more into his 10 tips to prevent cancer, go to MikeCoySpeaks.com/gift to get him there. But Mike, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your wisdom and what you brought to the show today. Have an amazing rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Nate. It's my pleasure. Appreciate you.